Hey guys, what's up? I'm your host Immortal Knight, and today I'll be going through 6 different tips that I feel you need to know in order to be sub-14 on a 3x3 Rubik's Cube. Without any ado, let's straight away get into it. Number 1. Being efficient in F2L. Okay, so one of the most important things in your 3x3 solve is actually your F2L, because F2L stage is the biggest place where most of the people find a hard time to cross through. And for your F2L to be as efficient as possible, the most important thing you need to know is look ahead. And I have a whole video on look ahead which I'll be linking down in the description. But what makes this more important is if you have a good look ahead, your efficiency in F2L also be good. And to have another reason to have an efficiency, like to improve efficiency in F2L, is actually that you need to have a move optimal solution. Now for example, if I have this pair over here, what most of the people might do is take it out like this and then go ahead and insert it. However, there's one more thing that you need to keep in mind. Instead of doing all such solutions, an easy way would be actually to do like this. So you notice that you could solve this back pair in just 5 moves rather than taking it out and inserting. So knowing efficient F2L solutions is really important, as that will cut down your times by a lot, because I've seen a lot of people where they just here's one more good example. This solution takes somewhere around 11 or 12 moves, I'm not that sure, but this is the most common solution that everyone do. However, there are some people who actually go for different solution. When they split this, move like do a U2 and then solve this pair. There are many more solutions which people do like this, but they're actually wrong. So you actually need to like do the solution which I just talked about a few seconds before. So that is one of the most efficient, like though it is 11 or 12 move solution, it is better than doing all weird moves and getting into really bad cases even for the next pair. So keep in mind that your efficiency and F2L can really not get down you to just sub 14 or anything, but you can get down to sub X anything, like basically from this point on, if you just have a really good F2L. So practice on F2L, drill your all F2L algorithms. If you feel F2L algorithm is difficult, find a new one which is really good. And even if you're using a really good F2L solution but you feel that you're not comfortable with the finger tricks, one actually important thing is that you need to find solutions which are also time optimal, not just move optimal. Like if you can do a 6 move F2L, or let's just take 8 moves F2L in 3 seconds, like you're not so comfortable with the finger tricks. But if you're able to do a 12 move F2L in just 2 seconds, you should be of course going for the 12 move F2L, though it takes a lot of moves, but it also cuts down 1 second, and each and every millisecond is also important. So that is why you need to have a good F2L. You need to be speed optimal, time optimal, and also move optimal. That all combined with look ahead can get you a really efficient F2L. Number 2. Drilling your last layer algorithms. So there are many tough last layer algorithms like the G perms and the N perms, but with good finger tricks you can really get them real quick. However, even with a lot of practice, there's one PLL algorithm that is really difficult, and most of the people actually struggle with it, and you guessed it right, it's the A perm. So the D2 flick is actually a lot big problem for many people, which goes ring pinky or ring and or pinky and ring. So what's difficult is that people actually can't do the ring and pinky because they feel that it's really uncomfortable. And honestly, even I before could not do this, but with a lot of practice I actually can do it now. But I still need improvement, but I can at least get down to a stage where it's not too terrible also. So what many people do is like something like this. When they do this, they do DD and then continue with DD. So they just use the ring finger or any one of the fingers and just do D, 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 D. However, you should be doing something is D2. So with optimal finger trick solutions, you should be able to do them real quick. And here's as fast as I can do that. So though I had a small lockup there, but you notice the finger tricks were the ones you actually required. So drilling your last algorithms is also really important, as that can also cut down some of your seconds.
Number 3. Controlling your TPS.
Third very important tip that I have for this is actually to control your turns per second and also to know what your turns per second is. So basically, if you don't control your turns per second, you really can have a hard time. Like for example, the most important place where you need to control your turns per second is actually in your F12. Let me show you why. Okay, so imagine that you have this F12 case. So if you just turn as quick as possible, this is the fastest you will do. So you notice that you solve this F12 pair. However, then you have to look, stop, look, then you get a pair and then you start to do it. So that pause was really terrible. But if you like notice that pause was for around 2 to 3 seconds, and if you're trying to get sub 14 and you just waste 2 to 3 seconds every time looking for transitioning from cross to F12 and first pair to second pair, etc, etc. So that total of 4 F12 pairs, and if you waste 2 seconds from cross all the way up to the last F12 pair, that is, and if you just imagine waste 2 seconds, so 2 into 4 is equal to 8. So you're just basically wasting 8 seconds looking for pieces around. Basically in 8 seconds at least for getting sub 14, you should be able to solve your cross and your F12, because that's one of the most important things. And if you're just wasting 8 seconds looking ahead for pieces where they might be, or you're just like trying to deduce one of those and you're not sure which it can be, that's really bad. So if you had a slow turns per second, if you like control your TPS, like that was somewhere around 5 to 6 TPS. However, if you brought it down to around 3 to 4 turns per second, you could have really like looked ahead to the next F12 pair. So while I was solving this, I could have noticed that these were gonna be my next pair. So let me show you an example of what I mean by that. Alright, so now if I have a control TPS and this is my first pair, I really do not know what's like over here, but as I insert this, I'll try to find pieces, and because I'll have a slow TPS, I can actually find other pieces. So let's just go and do that. And immediately notice this, and I also notice this. So notice that I could solve them without wasting like having to pause in middle and then finding other pieces and then going on to the next F12 pair. So try to have control TPS, because if you just try to turn as quick as possible, 90% of the times you actually will have to, end with a lot of pain. That's what I can say, because you'll have to waste a lot of time searching for pieces where they might be. So try controlling your TPS, and that's really important. So yeah.
Practice by doing untimed solves.
Okay, so in my last tip, I just said that you need to have a controlled TPS. But that does not mean that if I just said you need to have a TPS of 3 to 4 turns per second, it does not mean that you need to restrict yourself to that. What you need to be practicing is by something called as untimed solving. Basically what you do in untimed solving is that you try to turn at a speed where you don't have to pause again. And benefit of this is actually that, when you turn like at around 4 TPS but you're capable of looking ahead at 5 TPS, there's no point actually for you to just look ahead onto 4 TPS when you're actually able to do it in 5 turns per second. So you need to start by turning it at around 5 turns per second, and as time goes on, gradually you need to move like from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and so on. So the untimed solving also does not require a timer. All you just require is your 3x3. So many people, including myself, in fact I say when I was like around sub 16 or sub 15 maybe, I was like stuck on even for sub 15 and even for sub 14 on a really long time. But then I just came through across this really important tip, which is called the Untime Solving, and it really brought down my times by a lot. In fact, I just broke even my PB average with a time of 12.09 seconds. So it's not a one-time process that you just do around like for one day Untime Solving and next day you're back to your time solving. You need to practice this consistently. In fact, I say I practiced it for around 3 to 4 weeks, and still I was like, not fully familiar, so I again stopped using timer, went back through Untime Solving, and again when I returned after a really long time, I definitely could notice a difference in myself. So Untime Solving is one of the most important tips that I really wanted to cover in How to be Sub 14, because it's that thing which can really help everyone, almost everyone whoever watches this video. If you practice Untime Solving, there's a high percentage of chance that you will actually get down your times by a lot.
Number 5. Try planning your first pair during inspection.
Okay, so now the tip that I'm gonna give you is actually optional, because the tip which I'm gonna give is to plan your first pair during inspection. Now, honestly, to be speaking, 90% of my sub 14 solves that I've actually got till now, I really haven't planned for my first pair during inspection. But 10% as are remaining, when the cross is really easy, you should just not like plan cross and move ahead directly, like starting the timer and etc. So you need to look ahead into after what can be the possible first pair in your after your cross finishes. So what I mean by that is something like this. Now for example, I have the red cross and two of them are solved. Red yellow can go here relatively, because all of them are opposites, and then this will just be like 3 moves away. So instead of, because I know that how I'm gonna solve this cross, and you're given 15 seconds for inspection, you should really not just waste all 15 seconds or the remaining time what was there. What you could have actually done was just plan the cross and then look ahead for your first pair. And let me just see this, will it be a good first pair or not. So when I insert this, it does not get affected, and this one comes over here. Then when I do a D, I insert it with an F, so this comes over here, and then I'll just do a D to align the cross. So now I know that this is the case that's gonna be like, I already know, and then I know how I'm gonna solve this. So the benefit of this planning your first pair is that your cross to F12 transition becomes so smooth that it's really beneficial. Like as I said in my previous tips, that if you waste 2 to 3 seconds just for finding out which piece is where, and then many people actually get stuck on the first F12 pair. So really good, if you're practicing with your first pair during inspection, I really appreciate it. In fact, I'm slowly starting to practice this, because just can't get it like after watching video. You go grab your cube, you actually might even get a headache because it's so tough. So what I advise you is actually to start out by simple crosses, or you can like do a hand scramble wherein 2 cross edges are already inserted and the remaining 2 are not that tough to be inserted. But anyhow, let me show you what I mean. So just notice the transition from cross to first pair. Alright, you notice that I just inserted in the wrong this one, because I was looking in the camera and I really talked so much after doing my planning my cross solution and the first pair, that I could actually not remember where my pair was gonna end up, but I just knew that they were gonna end up here, and instead of inserting it over here, I actually inserted over here. But you notice that even though I inserted in the wrong place, I at least knew where my first pair was gonna be, and like where it had to be inserted was wrong. I do accept that, but you really need to focus on that, and that can get your times down. But if you practice it with real dedication, I'm sure that you will get a lot of improvement.
Number 6. Practice by using 3x3 scrambles on big cubes.
So one last tip that I would love to give you is, if you actually did not get anything different from the first 5 tips, this tip might actually help you. So instead of just playing with your 3x3, just push it away for some time and grab on to any big cube. For example, 4x4, 5x5, or etc. Anything leaving 3x3 and 2x2. So what you need to do is go ahead, take your cube, which is not a 3x3, and go ahead and scramble it with a 3x3 scramble. So what's the benefit of this? So it has a lot of benefit. In fact, the most important benefit is that you cannot turn that fast in a 4x4 like how you do on a 3x3. Like if you have a TPS of around 6 on 3x3, it might actually become 5 point something or even 5 TPS, because 3x3 hardware is always better, in fact the best among all of the other hardwares. So you need to, like, even if you don't want to turn slow, you'll actually have to restrict yourself. In fact, not even restrict, it's a natural thing, like you'll have to turn slower. So the benefit of this is, like, for example, let me solve any color. Okay, so it's a tutorial. Let me just go and solve white cross. So now, for example, I have this pair. On a 3 by 3, you might actually forget this to turn slower and just do it fast. But if you're doing it on a 4 by 4, you'll have to control your turns per second. And what I mean by this, oh, what did I do? Fine, let's just go and take some other pair. Now, for example, if I have this pair, so if I like try to do, I immediately will know that this is my next pair. So because, like, I was not able to turn that fast on a 4 by 4, I had time to look ahead to even other pairs. But on a 3 by 3, chances are that you might actually forget to turn slower, again start to turn fast, and then realize that you had to turn slower. So practicing on big cubes like this did not give a great benefit, like it was not so beneficial for me, but yes, all the tips that I just mentioned really some or the other way were actually beneficial, and that's the reason I wanted to make a video on how to be sub 14 with all the tips that worked for me to get to sub 14. Right, so that basically concludes my video on how to be sub 14. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, as that does mean a lot to me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you found the video helpful, and share it with your friends whom you feel that they also can be sub 14 but aren't. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.